Okay, welcome to a deep dive. Today we are going to look at something that definitely caught our attention. It's a source about a new AI image editor that seems, well, pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's right. We're digging into a YouTube video from the AI search channel. And it's a proper walkthrough, showing off quite a range of features in this new tool.
So our mission today is basically to unpack what that video showed. What is this thing? What makes it different from all the other AI image tools popping up? What can it actually do based on their examples? And I guess what does that mean for you, whether you're like a creative pro or just trying to figure out what's real online these days?
Okay, so the tool itself is called Flux Context, and it's from the folks at Black Forest Labs. They're the team behind the open source Flux model you might have heard of.
Right. And the basic idea, on the surface anyway, sounds pretty simple. Yeah. Upload a picture, type in what you want to change, just using text,
Hmm.
and it edits it. Supposedly skipping all the fiddly manual stuff, masking and layers.
Exactly. And based on the video, you can actually try this out right now on their platform online. They give you like 200 free credits when you sign up. Costs 4 credits a generation. So that's about 50 images you can play around with, right? See what it's like.
50 images is a decent amount to test it out.
Yeah.
Now, the video mentioned there are a few different models on the platform. It's not just this new context one.
Correct. Yeah. They have the original Flux Dev, which is more of a standard, text to image generator.
Yeah.
Then there's Pro and 1.1 Pro Ultra. Those are closed source. They claim higher quality. But yeah, the main focus of the video, the new stuff, are these context models, Context Pro and Context Max.
And Context Max is the top dog, the one they're really pushing.
That's what it seems like. The documentation they showed says Context Max offers, well, maximum performance, much better prompt adherence, so it actually listens to your text instructions better, and it's apparently pretty good with text, typography generation, and editing. Context Pro is like a bit faster, but maybe slightly lower quality.
Okay, let's get into the examples then, because that's where you see what better prompt adherence actually means in practice. They started with something fairly basic, like getting rid of watermarks.
Yeah, they took this image that was just covered in copyright watermarks, loads of them, prompted it to remove the watermarks. And the thing the video pointed out was, okay, yes, it did it, but it spat out 4 clean versions in like seconds. And the photo underneath looked totally untouched. Every single one was apparently perfect for that job.
Okay, yeah, fast watermark removal, that's useful.
Yeah.
But, we see AI doing that kind of cleanup. What about bigger stuff, like changing the weather or the whole scene?
Right. So they showed this photo, a woman outside holding a mic, other people in the background, some logos, and they prompted it to make it snowing heavily. And what was impressive, according to the video, was it kept everything else. The people, the microphone, the logo on it, all still there, clear as day, but now it's convincingly snowing hard all around her.
Huh. So it understands what to keep and what to add.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if you want a massive change? Like change what the person's doing and the entire background.
Yeah, this is where the video's suggested Flux context really, sort of, stands out. They took the same woman from that snowy picture
Okay.
and prompted it to show her taking a selfie wearing a red bikini at the beach sunset.
Whoa. Okay, wait. From snow, holding a mic,
Mm.
to a beach sunset, red bikini, taking a selfie. That's a huge change.
It really is. And what the source emphasized was how it completely switched the environment, changed her clothes, changed her pose, what she was holding. But across all the different versions it generated, her face, her likeness was kept consistent.
That's actually a really big deal, isn't it? Keeping
Yeah.
a character looking the same when you change everything else. Loads of tools struggle with that consistency.
Absolutely. Yeah, character consistency, especially when you're making dramatic changes like that, it's a known challenge. The video definitely positioned this as a major strength for Flux context.
Okay, so character and scene stuff looks impressive. What about text? Editing text inside an image. That's usually where AI falls down, or at least struggles.
They tested that specifically, had a sign saying, AI never sleeps, buckle up. The prompt was, change the text, buckle up to subscribe. And the video seemed pretty impressed with how well it kept the original font style while making that change.
Did it get it right every time, though? Text can be finicky.
Well, no, not always. The source did show that. In another example where they tried to put the sign into a new scene, like a nightclub, 2 out of the 4 generated images had messed up, garbled text on the sign. The sign was in the nightclub scene correctly, but the text itself was wrong. So, yeah, powerful, but maybe not 100% reliable for text in really complex edit.
Gotcha. Mostly works, but maybe double-check complex text stuff. They showed another text example, though, that was, well, it showed some serious precision, right?
Yes, and this one was quite a demonstration, but it came with a really important warning. They used a picture of a dummy ID card. The original photo was kind of blurry, but they prompted it to change the name on the card from Rachel Davis to Lola Cox.
And it managed that even though the source image was
It
blurry.
did, yeah, changed the name successfully. And the really striking thing was it kept the exact font style from that blurry original card. The video showed 4 versions, all with the name changed, slight variations in spacing maybe, but the font looked identical.
Wow, okay. Keeping the font style from a blurry input, that's technically impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that warning.
Absolutely crucial. The source was super clear. This was the tech demo on a dummy card. They explicitly warned, do not use this for illegal stuff, like forging real IDs. It shows what the tech can do, but you've got to use it responsibly.
Definitely. Very important point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about more practical stuff, like making product shots, taking an item out of a photo?
Yeah, they showed that, took a photo of someone wearing a denim jacket. The prompt was basically extract the denim jacket onto a white background, product photography style.
Like for an online shop kind of thing.
Exactly that. And the video pointed out that for this, you'd use the Generate tab on the platform, not the Edit tab, because Generate lets you set the aspect ratio, like square for e-commerce photos. And yeah, it produced several clean shots of just the jacket on a plain white background.
See, this is where that ease of use claim really hits home. I mean, think about doing that manually in Photoshop. You're carefully cutting out the jacket, masking it, creating the background, adjusting the lighting so it looks right on white.
Precisely. The video really hammered that contrast. What takes potentially hours of skilled work becomes a simple text prompt and 5 seconds of waiting. It could replace needing a whole studio setup or complex editing for basic product images.
Yeah, that alone could be massive for small businesses or creators.
Okay.
What about adding detail or like zooming in? They had that blurry bird example.
Yep. Had a photo, bird way off in the distance, super blurry if you zoomed in manually. They uploaded it, set the aspect ratio to 4.0 horizontal, I think, and prompted it to zoom in and generate a close-up of the bird, asking for ultra-sharp details and a professional wildlife photography style.
So essentially asking it to make up detail that just wasn't in the original photo.
Pretty much, yeah.
Huh.
Inventing plausible detail. And the video seemed genuinely impressed. It zoomed right in on the bird and generated really sharp, clear detail, making it look like a proper wildlife shot. They did say, it wasn't always perfect. One generation apparently gave the bird an extra leg, which is interesting.
Okay, an extra leg is a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah.
But overall, the detail addition was good.
Yeah, despite the odd glitch like the leg, the overall accuracy and the amount of detail it added from such a blurry source was described as pretty remarkable.
Okay, so it can invent plausible details, sometimes with minor hiccups.
Mm-hmm.
What about straightforward stuff like colorizing old photos?
That seemed really solid. They showed an old black and white family photo, simple prompt, colorize this photo. And the results, according to the video, across all generations were absolutely perfect.
Nice. Simple, clean result. Okay, building on that then, what if you took that colorized photo and wanted to change the background completely?
They did exactly that. Took one of the colorized family shots, prompted change the background to a beautiful Alps landscape. And the really clever bit the video highlighted wasn't just sticking the family onto a mountain picture. It was that the tool also adjusted the lighting on the people to match the new background.
Ah, okay, so they actually look like they were in the Alps scene, not just cut and pasted.
Exactly. Making the shadows, the highlights, the overall color tone on the family look like they belong in that bright, sunny mountain environment.
Which is manually incredibly difficult to get right, isn't it? All that fiddly masking around hair, then trying to match light direction, color temperature.
Yeah, the video specifically mentioned how much work that takes in something like Photoshop. You're doing complex selections, then tons of adjustment layers for exposure, color balance, shadows, trying to make it look convincing. This tool apparently did it pretty convincingly in seconds from one prompt. That suggests it understands more than just pixels. It gets scene lighting.
Okay, that lighting adjustment thing implies some deeper understanding. What about, like, artistic styles? Could it take a pattern or design from one thing and put it on another?
They tested that too. Showed a picture with a really intricate, complex design on a window pane. The prompt was something like, extract the design on the left window as a large tattoo centered on a man's back. And they set a vertical aspect ratio. The video just said it nailed it. Accurately put that complex window pattern onto the guy's back as a tattoo in all the images.
And they mentioned that transferring complex designs like that is often tricky for AI.
That was the point they made, yeah. that this kind of detailed style transfer is where many other tools can struggle, but Flux Context seemed really good at it based on that example.
And did it keep characters consistent even when doing these kinds of complex transfers or putting them in new scenes? Like that anime character example?
Yeah, they checked that, took a picture of quite a detailed anime character, prompted her to be riding a motorcycle through a futuristic city street, and the video showed how it kept all the little details of her outfit, like ribbons, ornaments, specific gold patterns on her sleeves, looking the same across all the generated images, even though she was in this totally new, complex sci-fi setting.
Wow. Okay, so it seems to handle complex edits, adding detail, integrating things realistically with lighting, transferring styles, and keeping characters consistent. That's quite a list of capabilities. The video also touched on some more standard editing things, right? Fill and expand.
Oh yeah, briefly. It showed fill where you can just like circle an area, maybe a blank wall, and prompt add a clock or whatever.
And expand for making the picture bigger. Outpainting.
Right. Expanding the canvas, like taking a tall photo and making it square by generating the missing sides. The video said it generally worked okay, but sometimes you might get slate artifacts, little glitches, right where the original image meets the newly generated bits.
Makes sense. Okay, and beyond just editing, they played around with changing the whole style of a photo, like making it look like a cartoon.
Yeah, they took that kind of funny picture of Will Smith and Queen Elizabeth eating spaghetti
Right.
and prompted it to turn them into anime characters, then Lego figures, then Simpsons characters, and finally like a 3D Pixar style.
And how did those turn out? Always hit or miss with style transfers, I find.
Yeah, pretty much as you'd expect. The video showed the results were varied. Some styles worked better than others. And you got some interesting quirks, like Will Smith's eyes looked kind of huge and wide in the Simpsons and Pixar versions, but it definitely showed it could apply all these different artistic looks.
Okay, so based on all those examples, it certainly looks impressive. Versatile, powerful. Did the source give any, like, hard numbers,
Oh.
benchmarks against other AI models?
It did, yeah. The video included some benchmark charts. They seemed to focus on stuff like character preservation, how well it followed editing instructions, and how accurate it was with inserting or changing text. And according to those charts, Flux Context, well, they called it Flux One Context, in the benchmarks apparently scored higher on average than other models they tested, including names like GPT, Bagel, and Gemini Flash, specifically in those areas.
Higher than GPT and Gemini on those specific tasks.
That's
Well, that's a strong claim based on their data. And speed was a big factor too, you said.
Yeah, speed was definitely highlighted. The video claimed the generation time is really low, typically under 5 seconds for an image. They specifically contrasted that with models like, say, GPT-4o, which can sometimes take quite a bit longer to generate an image.
So, top performance, according to their tests. And it's quick. Now, Flux originally had that open source model. Is there any talk of an open source version of this new context editor?
The source did mention that, yeah. They said there are plans for a model called Context Dev, which is supposed to be open weight, which basically means potentially you could download the model itself and run it on your own computer offline for free.
Okay, that'd be great for access, running it locally. Any catches? Downsides to the free version.
Yeah, a pretty big one mentioned in the documentation they showed. Context Dev is described as a distilled variant, which means apparently they shrink the model down, maybe to make it run faster locally, but this process can introduce visual artifacts.
Basically, the output quality might not be as good, lower fidelity compared to the paid Pro or Max models you use online. Think of it like a heavily compressed JPEG versus the original image. You lose some detail.
Okay, so the absolute best quality might still be the paid online one, but a free, perhaps slightly less perfect version is planned. Any idea when that might actually appear? The video just said coming soon. No specific date mentioned from Black Forest Labs in the source.
Right, coming soon. Got it. The video also quickly mentioned something about a related AI assistant, something that works with these generators. Just based on what the source showed, what did that do?
Yeah, the source briefly described an AI assistant tool. It seemed to act as a sort of hub for accessing different AI tools, including image generators like this Flux one, and also Stable Diffusion, but also worked as a browser extension, so it could interact with whatever web page you were on.
How so?
Yeah.
Like, what could it do on a web page?
Things like summarizing long technical articles with just a click, apparently. Generating mind maps from web content. It could also summarize YouTube videos, or even create time-stamped highlights or mind maps from the video content itself. and help with replying to emails contextually.
Okay, so a broader kind of AI helper that pulls image generation into a workflow that also includes summarizing and interacting with web content and videos.
Exactly. Seems like a tool trying to weave various AI functions into everyday online stuff.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit. We've gone through a lot of examples and details from this source about Flux context. What's the kind of main takeaway here?
Well, based purely on what the video demonstrated and the benchmarks they presented, Flux Context really does look like a very capable, very fast, and pretty accurate AI image editor. The way it seemed to handle consistency in complex edits, deal with text, do those tricky background swaps with realistic lighting, it suggests it's really pushing what you can easily do with just, typing instructions.
It definitely seems to make some really complex visual tasks look almost trivial, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Tools like this are pointing towards a future where maybe you need less deep technical skill for sophisticated image editing and more just good creative ideas expressed in words.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, maybe for you listening. If these tools are getting this good, this fast, and this easy to use, letting you alter images so fundamentally with just text, adding details that weren't there, changing scenes, lighting, faces, text, making it all look seamless, what do they really mean for how we create images? And maybe more critically, how do we navigate a visual world where telling the difference between a real photo and something heavily AI edited or even fully generated gets harder and harder? What doors does this kind of easy manipulation open, or what challenges does it create for you?